Everybody, welcome back. Here we are, Ezekiel the Third. I'm sitting here on the Twitch stage powered by Fandom. I got my boy Future Man here.
Yeah, what
and
up?
more importantly, we have Gabriel Rodriguez.
Thank you very
How
much.
are you
It's
doing,
a pleasure
man?
to be here. I'm doing great. Being in New York Comic Con is such a blast. Every time I come here, it's my third New York Comic Con. And as I told you before, it's get bigger and bigger and crazier and funnier every time. So it's been awesome.
Absolutely. It's my second one. And I heard after the fourth, you become an honorary New Yorker.
Yeah, probably.
That's great, right?
I would be honored. I don't deserve that. So just to be here is an honor big enough for me. So.
Did you hear that? He holds New York in that high regard. He wouldn't even take an honorary,
Wow.
an honorary citizenship. That's awesome, man. That's really cool to hear.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We're here to talk about your new book, Sword of Ages.
Yes.
But people might know your work and know your name from a little book that you did previously called Lock and Key.
Yes, yes. We had a little run with Lock and Key and IDW Publishing with my buddy Joe Hill. We developed this story throughout almost 7 years, and it was such a creative blast, and we have a great time. And we were lucky enough that people really liked the story and support us, helping us developing it and tell the story as we wanted to. So I couldn't be more grateful. It was a great, great experience. And after that, this is my first attempt to do a comic in which I write and do the art, both things at the same time.
Doing it all.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's I couldn't even imagine, man. I mean, tell me the challenges of
It's
your
a-
first book,
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
and doing the art, the whole thing.
Yeah, and writing in a language that's not your own, so it's an extra difficulty for it. But luckily, I've been supported by the great editorial team from IDW. They've been coaching me to polish my English and make sure that I'm saying exactly as I want to say in every sentence in it. So it has been a tremendously creepy challenge. I was very afraid at the beginning. My inner George McFly is really suffering.
Inner George McFly.
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
hilarious.
All my density is put into this book. So
My density.
yes, yes. This is my density right now, and
Good call, man.
yeah, no, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm very lucky to have the chance to do so, and I'm trying my very best.
And you gave me a little. Is that with this? What was this?
preview.
With the preview.
Yeah,
at
this
the
is
end?
a free sample that we have in the IDW booth, so anyone that would be interested in checking it, you can go get there. You have a few pages of the comic to have an idea what the story is about. And also we place the art in a way in which you see like the process of making the comic, because we have finished colored pages and some inked pages and a couple pencil pages at the back. So it's
Yeah,
you can see how the working progress for the comic book release it is. And it's like a little sample of what you're going to find in the actual book that's coming out in November.
Yeah, you get the pre-color, then like the wire framing and
Exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty neat. I always like that when I get like a trade or a collection or something like that, and once I'm finished with the story, I flip to the back and I get to see like sometimes they put a sketchbook in there or like processes and stuff like that. I always like to see the behind the scenes stuff, the
Exactly.
skeleton of it.
That was the idea, to show not only a preview of what the story is about, but also to let people know how the comic books are made. So it's been a fun way to approach the previews.
Can you take a moment and just tell us a little bit about what this story is generally about? What can we look forward to? Like, just what do you have in store?
Yeah,
for us?
well, when I conceived this series, I've been lucky enough to do very different kind of comics throughout my career with IDW. I did the CSI comics at the beginning, then I did an adaptation of Beowulf movie from Robert Zemeckis that had Neil Gaiman script, and I did Land of the Dead, and then I did Lock and Key, and then I had the chance to reinvent Little Nemo in Slumberland with the series I did with Eric Schnauer. And then, so the only thing that I haven't had done yet was like a very big sci-fi fantasy adventure, and that's what I'm trying to do in Sword of Ages. Also in this one, I'm trying to put together everything that I love from lots of comics and authors that I read through my childhood. So especially in this one, I sort of my love letter to the work that Alejandro Jodorowsky and Moebius did in the Inkle and the Meta Barons.
Okay.
And then also put in there the stuff that I really love, which is Harold Foster's Prince Valiant, and a movie that was very resonating for me in my childhood that was Excalibur from John Boorman. So with all that in mind, I consider the story as sort of a prequel of the myth of Excalibur in the time in which the sword didn't have that name yet. So it's the Sword of Ages that's going to detonate the adventure that's going to happen in this story.
It's funny. We actually discussed a little bit about that backstage about the kind of the premise of the book.
Yeah.
And I'd never put it together. That it's like it's sort of an Excalibur story. It's like Sword of Ages. Oh. It's a sword
There
and
we go. Now it
Excalibur.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were actually talking about being a convention goer and getting to meet. Like, tell me about your convention experiences.
Well, I've been, in a way, to put a face and a flesh to all this stuff that I've been watching from distance, because I'm from Chile in South America, a country in which when I was a little reader, there was no established comic industry. But I'm so in love with this kind of storytelling since a very young age. I had lucky enough that my parents bring me stuff. I have a couple uncles that brought like band destiny albums from Europe, so I got in touch with stuff like Asterix and Tintin, stuff like this when I was very young, and then I started getting to American comics. So having the chance to come to a place like this and put a face to all the authors that were like my teachers and the people that caused me to fall in love with this format of storytelling and put a face on them and be able to shake hands with them and meet them and share ideas and discussions about the work is like an incredible experience. So I think the weirdest thing that has happened to me so far is a couple years ago in San Diego that I was doing a signing in the IDW booth, and then a guy came by and said, "Hey, you know, I'm Kurt Busiek and I loved your work in Lock and Key. I'm certified." And my God, this is the guy that get me into reading comic books and come here and tell me that he loves my work. I couldn't believe it. So it's that amazing. It's like.
And that's kind of, you were telling me about Laverne.
Yeah.
Getting hooked up with that. Laverne is the colorist of the book. You're doing the writing and the drawing, and the colorist is Laverne. And tell me about that little.
Yeah. I was telling you before that Laverne Sindersky is like the first colorist whose name I knew, because when I was young, it came out the comic book, The Sword of Ezreal, from Joe Quesada and Kevin Nolan or not. Laverne was the colorist in that one.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed by the art in the series that I immediately started searching stuff from them, from Joe and Kevin and then Laverne.
Yep.
So when IDW came with the idea of doing this book and searching for a colorist for it, and then Chris Ryle, the editor, suggested, well, what do you think about working with Laverne Sindersky in colors? And it was like mind-blowing. I couldn't believe that he dropped that name. And then when we approached to him, he told us that a couple years ago he was approached from the Mobius studio to work with him in some of his book, and that never happened. So when we told him that we were going to do this book and we were going to try that kind of color approach and design to that, it was, oh, that's great. This is exactly the kind of project I want to do and everything. So, oh my God, this is like all the stars are matching together at the perfect time.
It's so great to hear. I'm glad you're finally getting to do a project you've been wanting to do for a while. We gotta wrap up. We got lots of other stuff to do today. Gabriel, thank you so much.
Sword of
Ages.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Man.
When can we look for it soon, or can we find it like?
It's going to be out. The first issue is going to be out in November, and you already can go to the IDW booth and get a free sample of what it's going to be. So everyone's welcome, and I'll be there daily, also doing signings for stuff of the Sword of the Ages sample and Lock and Key stuff. So whenever you want, I'll be there.
Thank you once again for being here today. I do appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your art with us. Don't go away. We got lots of cool stuff coming. Stick around.